I'm not going to lie, this was one of the most difficult launches that we have had in quite a long time, just because of the time frame that we had. About 16 days ago, our client hit us up saying that they wanted to have their event on June 24th, and they had $150,000 in ad spend to spend over those 15 days. And today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to kind of take you behind the scenes on how I planned and just mapped out the entire campaign. So what we'll do is we will start with what was working against us. So when it comes to launching an event like this, I always want to have at least 30 days. So we had the time frame, the daily budget, and then this funnel, it did do well the first time we launched it. So we figured, you know what, we're just going to be able to just turn the best converting ads on that we had, create some more variations and everything around that. However, this time around, the conversions were actually cut in half. So what used to be a 3 to 4% conversion from unique visitor to sale was now like a 1 to 1.5% conversion from unique visitor to sale, which immediately just skyrocketed our cost per acquisition. So another one was page conversions. And for this one, a lot of it was just messaging, just the target audience. So the reason the messaging was a little off is because the big claim that we had was, it was really big. It was essentially how to fill up your high ticket coaching or course business in a single weekend. Or the other one we were throwing out there was see how I get anywhere from 50 to 200 high ticket sales in a single weekend. And we're talking to people that have established coaching businesses. They're in the high ticket space. So they have an offer. They've been selling their offer. They are around like $8,000 to $10,000. So being able to fill up their high ticket program in a single weekend seems a little bit like too far out of reach for them to actually be able to do it. So what we ended up doing was we changed the hook on the page. That did boost the conversion. So instead of see how you can get 50 to 200 high ticket clients in a single weekend, we changed it to how to land 10 plus high ticket clients in the next 45 days. And then that gives them time to build out their event, launch their event, and of course, close some high ticket sales. And if they follow the process, how the process is supposed to be, then they should be able to close those 10 high ticket sales. And then just continue to repeat that process and just go over and over and over again. So at the beginning, the page, the message was a little bit messed up. Who we were speaking to as the target audience was a little bit messed up. The pixel was bad. The last media buyers that were running the ads for this, they were running the same pixel for every single event. And each event caters to I wouldn't say a hugely different target audience, but there are the differences because one targets specifically speakers, one targets people that are just, they have heard of coaching, but they haven't actually started their coaching business. And then the other one is more for people that are doing like already coaching, but they want to become a better coach. And then this event is for people that are already established coaches and they want to just make sure that they can just scale their business and get the results that they want to live a life of freedom financially and all of that stuff. So what we did was we switched up the pixel and we put a second pixel on there. So we still ran ads with the old pixel. However, we had a new pixel on the page as well, and we were testing campaigns to that. Those were getting the cheapest cost per acquisitions. So we just continued to run with that pixel and scale everything up. Budget, of course, would have been $10,000 a day if we started out with $10,000 a day. We had 15 days. We want at least 30 days when it comes to launching an event like this, because we can start out with a lower budget and actually scale that up. Because when it comes to scaling something, I am just going to make a circle right here. So let's just say, we'll say $200 a day. And then we will copy this, put it in the background. I'm going to change the color right quick. Let me go black. And then layer. Okay, so this is $200 a day. And then if we scale up 20%, then this would be $240 a day. If we already found a really good pocket in this $200 a day, and we scale it $20 a day, or 20% every 2 to 3 days, usually about 3, 4 if you have the time. But if we scale it up that 20%, then we'll be at $240 in spend, and we'll have a small pocket for Facebook to take that extra $40 that we put in there and start finding winning pockets inside of here. Let's say we're like, you know what, let's go from $200 a day to $2,000 a day. Facebook's not going to be able to optimize that because it's got your pocket is really small inside of what the budget is. So they're going to take that $200 a day and they're going to just start throwing it out there. I won't be able to fit 10 of those in here, but there's just all of these different pockets that it just starts trying to figure out, where are the winners going to be in this huge budget now that I have so much more to spend. So that's why we always try to 20% every 3 to 4 days. If we are up to about $200,000, then I won't scale those to 20%. I might do 10%, because when you're increasing the numbers by that much, you're still giving Facebook a bigger pocket for them to go try to find these winning pockets in. And that's really how a lot of people end up either back in learning phase, and Facebook just starts spending their budget left and right. So time frame was off. Daily budget, or the full budget, was $150,000. So $150,000 in 15 days, that's $10,000 a day. So this was how we actually did it. So when it comes to our campaigns, let me go back on this side real quick just to kind of map out the little campaigns. So we'll just say this is C1 for campaign 1, C2 for campaign 2, and then C3 for campaign 3. Once we have the campaigns, each campaign is going to have about 3 ad sets. So each campaign is going to have 3 ad sets, and I'm going to group this. And then I don't know if I'm going to have enough room because each ad set has 3 ads. So we'll try to get it as close as possible. I'll just talk about one at a time. So we'll start with campaign 1. We have one campaign that goes out to 3 different ad sets. Each ad set, or 3 different ads. Each ad is just, of course, variations of the creative and the copy. When we're spending this much of a budget and we're going for $10,000 a day, what we started testing was to do dynamic creatives. How that would look like is there would just be the one ad set, and then we would just push it to, there'd just be one of these. But this one ad would have 3 copies, maybe 4 images, and then 2 headlines. We've just found that with this much spend and allowing Facebook's algorithm just to optimize everything, we're able to get a little bit lower of a CPA. Some of these will do like target CPA and everything on for like the bidding strategy and stuff like that. But a lot of the times it is just, we try to keep it as simple as possible. So C1 is straight cold. This starts as our testing campaign. So we're just pushing a lot of the budget out there and just testing multiple different audiences, multiple different creatives and stuff like that. And then once we find some winners, then what we end up doing is we turn off all of the ones that are not winners, and we just keep the winning ads and the winning ad sets inside of the campaign. And then what we do is we create the next I don't know why this doesn't let me make a square. We'll make C2, and then C2 will then be testing. Well, C1 turns into scale. And the reason that is because we don't want to lose all of the data that we have in all of these ad sets, all of the ads. We just don't want to lose that optimization and try to push the scale back into learning mode. So we just start scaling up this campaign. And then we'll create the other campaign, which will be test. And then C3 is our middle of funnel. So this is nothing but retargeting. So C1 starts out as cold testing, moves into scale after we find the initial winners, and then we move it into testing for C2, which of course then we would start taking the winners that we have inside of here or inside of here, and we would move them to here, and then we would just test different audiences. And then we may take our best performing audiences over here, move them over here, and then we just test different ad creatives and visuals and just videos and stuff like that. Now, for this actual campaign, what we ended up doing was we started the budget at $10,000 a day. So some of you might be like, what the heck? Why would you start it out at $10,000 a day? And because time wasn't on our side. With time not being on our side, we don't have the luxury of being able to start out with $2,500 a day and scaling it up every 3 to 4 days until we're at where we needed to be at to hit the numbers. What we needed to do was just from day one, take all of the winners from the last launch, put them into a new campaign, and just put $10,000 a day to this, so that way we can just start the budget out with how much we needed to actually spend. So we have $10,000 a day on the start of the campaign. I think we only spent like $1,400 this day as it was getting up. We let it run for at least 3 days, which I know this is not for the faint of heart, because a lot of people get really emotional when it comes down to being able to scale a campaign or just spending this much in general. But there is a method to the madness. We knew that right out of the gate, our cost per registration was going to be high from day one to about day 4, just because we're spending a lot and we want Facebook's algorithm to be able to catch up to what we're doing. And it takes anywhere from those first initial 4 to even 7 days for learning phase to kind of go through, especially when you need to hit like those 50 conversions a week in order for it to really truly optimize. So we just wanted to start big, and that's exactly what we did. Day 3, we started to kill off some of the campaigns that were like 2-3x over the target CPA, so that way we could just get rid of those. And then we started to just continue to look at the metrics. Another thing that was going against us was tracking. We didn't have high rows. So we were using Wicked Reports. And the issue is there's a 24-hour delay. So we don't get real-time data from Wicked Reports. Every morning it updates, and then we have to go through all of the campaigns. We don't get to see it inside of the business manager like we normally would. And I've talked to the COO of this client, and they weren't interested in switching from Wicked Reports over there. So we were really only able to optimize in the morning for everything that happened the day before. And then it was just, like, I'm not going to lie, this was one of the most difficult launches that we have had in quite a long time, just because of the time frame that we had. I mean, the event starts on the 24th. It's the 23rd right now. And we would usually want to start the event or start the promotion right here. So that way we have this whole week of just like testing with lower budgets, figuring out what we're going to be able to like scale. And then we move into the optimization side of everything. And then we just scale the hell out of it from here all the way through. And this allows us to optimize the page a little bit more. I mean, we rewrote the page, we repositioned the hook, we redesigned the page, and it just wasn't hitting with the target audience. I think the other thing people see is because it teaches people how to kind of throw an event. I think one thing we could have done better was talk about the ease of virtual events and how you don't have to get this huge. I mean, we talked about all you really need is your phone, a Zoom account, and a kitchen table, and you can throw these events and stuff like that. But I do think there could have been a little bit better of like a breakdown in the copy why virtual events are one of the easiest events to throw. It's like throwing a webinar, but over a couple days. And I think I could hit on that. But for what we did have, our goal was to spend about $60,000 to $75,000 of the budget by the 16th. So that way we could go into just retargeting saturation. With the retargeting saturation, that is where like we put about 80% of the budget to retargeting, and then we keep 20% going out. Because the budget was still so high on this, we did about 50-50. So 50% of the budget went for retargeting and 50% of what was left went for cold traffic. The thing to understand and realize is that when there's only this much time between when you launch a campaign and when the actual event happens, there's no room for error, like at all. Absolutely no room for error. And the reason that is because if you raise the budget a little bit too much on any one of these days, then Facebook's going to go back. It's going to just do everything that you don't want it to do. And your CPAs are going to skyrocket for a couple of days. And we don't have a couple of days for it to level out. So you kind of need to just set it with the best stuff that you've had. If this is your first time launching an event, I would recommend not spending as much on cold traffic, but I would still I would shoot for about a to 500 cost per registration on the first event. Really depends on what the conversion is. I mean, our last client, we were at about a 6-7% on cold traffic, and CPA there was like $200. And this one we really weren't close to that, unfortunately. But with the retargeting, of course, we just want to stay in front of them with new creatives. We want to just be watching the frequency rate on how many times the creatives are hitting that specific audience. And then from there, what we want to do is we want to launch just a whole bunch of scarcity and urgency ads, because another thing that this campaign didn't do is we didn't increase the budget throughout the launch. So there's no real reason people need to purchase right now, because the event's not until the 24th. Why not just wait until the last minute and buy my ticket? So coming into this day, we just went super, super hard on just full on scarcity and urgency ads, saying that, the door's going to slam shut soon. You may never see this again. All my private clients were asking for me to do this again, and I decided to do it just this one more time, and I'm not sure if I'm ever going to open the doors to this ever again. So if you want to see how Big Hook is, all of that stuff, then claim your seat. But yeah, that's essentially how we planned and launched this entire campaign. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little masterclass. I wasn't even planning on making it this long, but I hope you enjoyed and got some value out of this. Let me know down below. Make sure you give me a like, share, subscribe, and I will see you next week.